Okay, so we resume play after a brief stoppage, but how about the top of this leaderboard? Brooks out of nowhere, and of course you've got the amateur and Sam Bennett. It's an awesome story.
It is, and let me start with him first. I was at the U.S. Amateur last summer. It was actually played at the club that I was lucky enough to grow up at in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and he went through. When you play match play, as they do in the U.S. Amateur, you don't know who is going to get through on the other side. And he ran the gauntlet through some of the best amateurs in the game. And for him to come out and win, it's one of the hardest championships to win. He's got a very good story. Sadly, he lost his father a couple of years ago in June of 2021. And so he plays with a real purpose. He's not somebody that you would look at and go, wow, what an athlete. But he is an athlete. He's small, but he was terrific at basketball, baseball. He was a terrific tennis player growing up, narrowed his focus to golf. He's very gritty. He's very gutty. The fact that kid has gone around this golf course and only produced one bogey in 36 holes, look, he's in the deep end of the pool now, and this is going to get harder and more challenging for him. But he's a fabulous story. And as you said with Brooks, he is, for 5 years, he was the guy in major championships, and then he started getting hurt, and then he made the decision to go over to LIV Golf, and nobody knew what to expect when all these guys, 18 LIV guys, are in the field this week. Brooks won their event last week in Orlando. It's a hard thing to assess how good the win is because it's only 54 holes. He really hadn't had any form, but it's not unlike him to show up and bow up, which he's done for 36 holes. He's been great. He's been virtually spotless, and it's a hell of a story that the dichotomy between these LIV guys, who, and some of them, Patrick, are having very good weeks. Phil Mickelson has jumped up, and he's currently in the top 15. Koepka in this story going into the weekend, and let's say it's Rahm who pulls ahead of these other guys and positions himself. Rahm Koepka late on a Saturday is dripping with a lot of stuff if that's what materializes as our final twosome going out in the third round tomorrow.
Gary, you mentioned Jon Rahm. Having won a major now in 2021, how does that change things for him on a Sunday, as you alluded to, if it's a potential pairing with him and Brooks Koepka?
Aman, I think when you break through and you win for the first time in a major championship, it's a vortex that only you can feel intellectually and psychologically that other players are on the other side of. The thing about Jon is that he looked about a month ago as if he was going to be heading here. I kind of compared it to Dustin Johnson going back to 2017. He was a freight train on his way to Augusta National, and then he had that mishap and didn't even participate in the tournament. Jon was on a flyer, and then he got to the Players' Championship, and even before that, he led after 18 holes at Bay Hill, shot 76 in the second round, 76 in the third round, and then he's gone quiet. And the match play is a funky thing. Back to your original question about him, he is as capable, and he is certainly as prepared as anybody when it comes to a weekend and big events. Here's a stat for you guys that is Tiger-esque, and there's not many guys with a decent sample size that you can say, well, it's only been a year. No. This guy, in his career on the PGA Tour, half of his starts have been top tens. He lives in contention. So if anybody is comfortable with what it's like to tee off late on a weekend, whatever the event is, he is as conditioned as anybody in the game.
Gary Williams, 5clubsgolf.com, SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio. Lay out the weather scenario, Gary. It's going to be cold and wet the rest of the way, right? I mean, we just had a brief delay. How does the weather impact these golfers over the weekend? Do we finish up on Monday? Lay out the weather for us.
Yeah, let me start with the Monday finish. They haven't had one since 1983. That's a lot of dumb luck because it's Augusta, Georgia in the springtime, and I live in Charlotte now, and it's temperamental, the weather you're going to get, and that's what we're dealing with now, this front and system that is making its way across the Mid-Atlantic and down here into the state of Georgia. I was on the golf course when they called them off. They actually were evacuating the property and getting all the people off the golf course, and then literally turned it right around, held the players in position. They're back out there now. Here's what's going to happen. It has been hot and humid this week, but there's been so much moisture in the air and on the ground. This golf course has never gotten, firm and fast. It rained a lot at the early part of last week. So the golf course is very receptive. Now, it's going to drop 30 degrees in temperature. It's in the mid-80s right now. It's going to be a high of about 53 degrees tomorrow. Within the next couple hours, the temperature is going to start dropping significantly. A colder, damper golf course makes it exponentially longer. That's not something that a lot of these guys are going to be affected by. It actually, in my estimation, widens the field and the number of guys who possibly are going to contend deep into Sunday, because this golf course is very exacting when it's very firm and fast. When it's not, I think it allows more players who are not necessarily the very best ball strikers to be able to hang in there. And if these greens are like pin cushions, these guys are going to be firing pins. Yes, it'll be a little bit longer, but they all fly it so far. I think it could be an absolute shootout, even though, again, if it's cold and wet all day, it's going to be kind of miserable, but these guys are conditioned to deal with it. I think for someone like Koepka to have a 4-shot lead, if that holds up, and I don't think it will, I think Rahm's going to be closer by the end of the day. I think those two guys, and then I would put Collin Morikawa, who's won in damp, cold conditions at TPC Harding Park when he won the PGA Championship. He won the Open Championship in very cool conditions over in England. And Victor Hovland, who's from Oslo, Norway. If anybody can deal with that, it's him. The guys who are on the first page. And Sam Bennett's going to be fun to watch him. We got 4 guys who I expect to be there till the very end.
I love the point you just made in terms of breaking down the weather and the impact and kind of widening the field. I want to ask you about a guy, and the reason why I'm being specific here with Cam Young is because he's still got the back 9 to play. He's sitting right now at -5. Is he someone, or is there some other names you potentially looking at? And by the way, quick update, Jon Rahm just went to -9, so he's off to a fast start, as you just alluded to a second ago.
Let me just, and one quick point on John. He made a double bogey. He 4-putted the first hole yesterday. He has proceeded to play now the next 26 holes in 11 under par. He flipped it right around. Back to what you were saying about Cam Young. Cam Young is a beast, and I know he has not won yet on the PGA Tour. He's got 6 seconds. He made a deep run, obviously, and got to the final of the match play a couple of weeks ago. He can flush it as well as anybody. So he's got the requisite length around here to be unaffected by a golf course playing longer because it's softer. One other guy that I would mention, and he wasted, in my estimation, 3 shots yesterday by dumping it in the water on 11, made double bogey on 13, and that is Jordan Spieth. He lives in contention at Augusta National, starting with his first start here in 2014 when he finished second, won it the following year, was in position to repeat in 2016 and had the implosion on the 12th hole and made a 7 there. He is as good as anybody with his intuition about how to play this golf course, and no matter what the conditions are, he will figure out a way to be in the middle of this thing by the end of the weekend. Those 2 guys, Cam Young's a great call, and when you give someone like Cam Young 4 par 5s, which is a rare thing in major championship golf, but they have it here at Augusta National, he will take advantage, and Spieth's the other guy that I expect to figure out a way to get closer to the top of this board.
Gary, I got a minute left. Rory. I mean, this is a major story. Absolutely fell apart. He's sitting 5 over.
Patrick, it is, sitting in his press conference on Tuesday, and I asked him, look, you're a poor starter here. There's no way around it. And he did it again yesterday. A level par round on a very receptive golf course was totally unacceptable. He started today outside the top 30. Nobody outside of Tiger in the last 17 years has started outside the top 10 after the first round and come back to win this. Him not only not being in contention, but to miss the cut here will mean that he will go into next year 10 times since he's been on the doorstep of completing the career Grand Slam. It is a colossal failure for him to not be even in on the weekend, considering the form, the run he made at the match play. He has got to be completely gutted that he had the 2 days that he had. It is a huge, huge story.
You can read Gary Williams at 5clubsgolf.com. You can hear him. The coverage is awesome over on SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio. Gary Williams 1 up. Hope you and the family are well. Nobody's smoother. Thank you for the time today. Appreciate you.
Patrick, it's good catching up, buddy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Gary Williams. Nobody's better talking golf than G. Williams.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.